this is my favorite part of the program, is when you're getting to introduce the harmony window. Okay, I love this slide carnival because it looks like harmony. It has the harmony line down the middle, and it has different colors and groupings, because now what we're going to do is we're going to start putting together all those windows. And harmony is when two or more notes are heard at the same time. And I tried to find, of course, as we were talking before about, we want culturally diverse pictures. I didn't want the conductor to always be white. I didn't want the instrumentalist to always be white. So I have some different things here. I hate to stop that because it is so wonderful, but that came out of COVID. That was in a very early virtual choir, and the teacher appears at one point in the video. But the kids, the variety of kids, and the fact that I can point out that some of them are singing the same notes and some are singing different notes, but they're all doing it at the same time, and that's what makes that harmony. I have some secondary examples. I have the Harvard choir does a wonderful version of Hallelujah from, well, I heard it in Shrek, but there's other opportunities that you have to pull in your own. And of course, if you'd like your picture to be in the background here, be more of the age level of your students, you can always change that picture. So then we're going to go on and talk about unison versus harmony. And this is, I think, a very important point. If your kids haven't experienced this, is just one of those videos I found. I will share it for always and forever. Number one, because they're hearing Amazing Grace, which they heard in our style unit, but also because it does such a wonderful example of demonstrating. Amazing Grace. Copyright. How sweet the sound of unity that saved a wretch like me. Because we are all adults, I'm going to fast forward here, because then of course they go into Amazing Grace. One of them just how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. In the melody, I was right lost, but now I'm found. Okay, so there's an example of unison versus harmony, and I think for a lot of kids, if they're not in choir, if they never did band or orchestra, they don't understand when you're saying two people singing at the same time, but they're not singing this. Sometimes they sing the same thing, and sometimes they sing completely different things at the same time. So that is a great, great example of that. Then I really like to talk about consonants and dissonance. I think that's really important to understand in Hyperscore. If you're not liking what you're hearing on the screen, it's because it's not consonant to you. It needs to be pleasing to your ear. I don't have to like it. I'm going to give you points for whatever you write, but you have to like it. And if you don't like it, there's a reason for that. So if it makes you feel happy and relaxed and pleasing, then it is consonant. And then, so I'm going to play something for you that I consider to be consonant. You might not agree with me. Let's see if you do. I like that. Okay, anybody who feels comfortable telling me, did you feel relaxed with that piece of music? Okay, is there anybody who said, I didn't like that? Did anybody say that? Okay, sometimes I find that kids say that this particular piece is too high. So when they say, I didn't like it because it was too high, then I say, well, you might like the middle or the lower part when you're writing your melodies in Hyperscore. You might want to use closer to the center line and to the bottom. By the way, does anybody know why I made you write on the center line? I did it on the center line because I find that Kids understand automatically it's going to be in major. If they use the center line, it's going to be in major. If they start on an A, it's going to turn into minor. It's going to be really hard for them to hear. I don't hear Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Oh, if I start you on the center line, then you're going to go to that highlighted G line and you're going to go dun, 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 dun. So anyway, I'm trying to really reinforce consonants so that they like what it is that they're hearing. There's got to be an opposite, and that is dissonance. And dissonance for our purposes is it causes clashes and creates a little bit of tension. And guess what? We love a little bit of dissonance in our pieces. In fact, there are some people who their whole set of music, especially in jazz, is all about dissonance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a jazz piece for you that is very dissonant. In fact, the title on my YouTube video is Most Atonal Dissonant Sounds. Like this guy's winner chicken dinner on dissonance. And what I want you to see is, I want you to see if you like it, it's okay, or you are begging me to turn it off. Which one are you? Okay, I'm going to stop it. And I'm going to tell you that my class is, funny enough, there are some kids who go, oh, I love that. And I say, then you need to listen to jazz, and you need to listen to atonal music, and you need to go listen to that Tongaret band from Indonesia, because their songs are full of dissonance. But I have kids who will actually plug their ears and then like, please turn it off, please turn it off, please turn it off, because the dissonance is too much for them. So I would say, if you don't like your Hyperscore harmony, it's because there's more dissonance in it than there is consonants. And so you're going to have to work with your piece until you like it. It sounds good to your ear. Okay, so dissonance and consonants, creating that tension. Maybe you like a little bit, maybe you like none. You're going to have to decide. Then we're going to talk about chords. And this is where I get my electric guitar out for the first time and play some chords for them. I usually play House of the Rising Sun and Para Bailar La Bamba. And I found Pink's Get the Party Started as a single chord. So I love to play that one. But that chords, we're hearing 3 or more notes at the same time. And for some of my piano players, I'll say, you can play them all at the same time, or you can play them arpeggiated, dun, 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 dun. But that's still a chord. You're just playing them one alternating. But I am so thrilled to share with you Sung Ha Jun. And if you don't know Sung Ha Jun, you need to look back at when he was 12 and he started posting videos on the internet. He's 21 in this video. He is now an international star for his skills and abilities, but this is a great example of chord. So I know that you can't hear me very well when I am playing something. So I'm just going to tell you real quick that I play out when he's playing, I point out when he's playing melody. I point out when he's playing chords, because you can see that he's got 2 to 4 fingers on the fingerboard, that he is playing bass with his right thumb. He's playing bass on the top string, the low string E, and he's also doing a percussive thing by scratching the strings. So this is Sung Ha Jun, and this is Thriller. I know you could listen to Sung Ha all day long, but he's amazing. I believe, if I remember correctly, he's from South Korea. I think that would be good to point out, because I want the students to listen to musicians from other countries as well. I think he's a great example and extremely, extremely talented. He has a million examples. If you don't want to use Thriller, you think it's too old, he has pop songs that he does from present day. Okay, so chords. And then we're going to talk about dynamics. So our first tool was harmony. Our second tool is dynamics. And it's the soft, medium, and loud of the music. I used to play this really adorable thing with Fozzie Bear, and he's playing from the Muppets, and he's playing a piece of music, and he does loud and soft, and Beethoven, the statue of Beethoven falls asleep when he plays soft, and he wakes back up when he plays loud. My junior high kids didn't like that. So I left that in for Kim or anybody who's using it for elementary. I put a ton of examples in the speaker notes for you for appropriate age-wise. The next thing I want to point out is crescendo and decrescendo. And crescendo gradually gets louder until it's loud. That's a crescendo. And decrescendo, let's practice that in our best Italian. Decrescendo. It gradually gets softer until it's soft. And then, of course, I have an example. So I have a kid who has epilepsy in my class. I'm always careful about movement in it. So this starts. Something I really like about this one is to the most dramatic moment, and it does a decrescendo. So gradually, I want him to know about crescendo and decrescendo because Peter has put that feature into the harmony window. So you can go and kids used to also always complain to me that they wanted it to have a crescendo, and maybe we could do it before. I just didn't understand how to do it, but for some reason now it completely makes sense to me in this new version how to make a crescendo. So we're ready to write a harmony now. So you're going to go back to your Hyperscore window, and what we're going to do is I'm going to have you, I'm just showing you the old version, what it looked like. You would have the rhythm and the 2 melodies. You would have 1 to 3 rhythms and 1 to 3 melodies if you'd followed my directions in class. And then you're going to bring down that harmony window to put all of these together. I just wanted to show you the old one since you can now see that the rhythm is on there. So when we get the beta model rhythm feature fixed, then you'll be able to do that. This is our harmony. So we got rhythm, melody, hot cross buns. Can you see hot cross buns? Hot cross buns, hot cross buns. And then this is the one I made that's an original. So let's go to the new version. And okay, so we have our harmony here. So that window is the new one we're going to use. And I have my hot cross buns. I have my original, and I have my original that I've extended into 2 measures. And so what we're going to do is click on the melody window you want to use first. And what's going to happen is your pen is going to turn red. And this is a new what for Peter. He made the pen turn red. So, and indicating a line that now you're not doing the droplets anymore. What you're going to be doing is drawing lines. And so if you mess with, say you touch the red window and come over, if you write in the harmony window, it's going to be red. So I'm going to show you that with my letter A here, that this is one complete playing of the red window. And the reason I know that is this brilliant triangle to triangle is indicating to me that as one complete playing of what I wrote, hot cross buns. Then I'm going to show you in the B's that this is 2 complete playings. They're hooked together. I have 1 triangle. There's my first playing. And the second triangle indicates I've played it twice now. So you can continue a phrase on and on and on. And I can decide by using my arrow tool over here. I can use my arrow tool and decide to pull this down. Maybe I don't want them to both be at this, what happens to be an E on the music staff. Some of your piano students are going to recognize that this is what letter names. This is high C, this is G. I think that's G, and this is E. And then there's half steps in here. And Peter and I are talking about when we have kindergartners making it so that it's only the major scale without any of the half steps in between. But anyway, so you can pull that down and change where that's located using your arrow tool. And pull something over here so I can see my screen a little better. Okay, so now I've added 3 colors into my window. So I have my orange, my yellow, and my reds, and now I have polyphonic. And that's because I have two or more things playing at the same time. So that means we now have harmony. The definition of harmony is three or more at the same time. Now, if I play it and I decide I don't like the way it sounds, that's where we can use this feature of harmony line, where you click none, that's exactly like you wrote it. Click general, it cleans up a little of the dissonance, and classical cleans up a lot of the dissonance. But you have to decide, do you want it to sound like you, or do you want it to sound a little more like Mozart? That's your personal choice to decide whether you want to take that dissonance out of there and get that cleaned up. Okay, the next step that we would do is we would add dynamics. And notice I'm not giving you any time to do the work because I don't want you to do it yet. I want you to be learning about these dynamic levels. So I'm going to show you where dynamics is at. If you use your arrow tool and you click on the color, this fabulous smorgasbord of tools comes up. Thank you, Peter. Woo, woo. And I'm going to make it big for you so you can see it better. Peter has given you the opportunity to change the window. So you can go to your orange, you can turn this red window into an orange or a yellow. I'm not going to tell you these features yet because I don't want you to use them, but I'm going to point out the sound feature. So the sound looks just like the sound icon that the kids know from their games and modern technology, that's a sound window. So I don't even have to go in and explain that to them, but I want to label it as dynamics. They might say loud and soft, but I'm going to use the word dynamics because I want to reinforce that dynamics is loud, medium, and soft of music. Okay, and so in this window, I pulled the sound icon all the way to the right, and I made this bigger. So I found out, unfortunately, in front of my students, that I used to say the line was thick, and that is a slang term that you do not want to use with secondary students. And so I tried very hard to say the line is bigger. And so bigger, not thicker, is going to be loud. Okay, and then of course, if I pull it all to the way to the left, the line is thinner or soft. I can go anywhere in between. It's a continuum, so I can make medium loud. I can make, so this is very, very loud on my screen right here, and this is very, very soft. You can go anywhere between those to put dynamics into your piece. Okay, so congratulations, everybody. You now have 4 musical tools in your composition toolbox. You have rhythm, melody, harmony, and dynamics. But what we're going to do is we're going to give you an opportunity to write some harmony. And here's what I usually do in class. The first kid who says, I'm done, I stop everybody. And we talk about what they've done and if they want to share it with everybody. And then I say, don't forget that we're going to save at the end of class and you can come back and work on this harmony the next time we're together. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get any more chances to do it. It's just that right now I need you to end. So usually whichever the first one of you to say I'm done is going to trigger us to close up and play somebody's example. Okay, so I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to put mute on my screen. I'm going to let you work. And then somebody's going to say, I'm done. And that's going to trigger us to listen to your harmony. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about harmony before we start? Remember that if you ask a question, it might be a question that everybody in the room has. You might not be the only one. Anybody have a question about harmony or dynamics?
Can I just clarify, when we put those colors in, when we want to change the color, it needs to align with the motive that we made. And if we don't, it'll just be silent.
Yes, Beth. Somewhere, sometime during that class period or that 15 minutes I'd give the students, somebody would say, I put purple in and it won't play anything. And then I'll go back and explain. Purple doesn't play anything because you don't have a purple rhythm and you don't have a purple melody. It won't play anything because there's nothing associated with that color. If you want that to be purple, you have to go back and make your red window a purple window back in the melody window. So thank you, Beth. Somebody would have asked that at some point in the class. Okay, anything else? All right, enjoy your time.
Cece, I'd like to throw out there too, as a music teacher, from my perspective, it's going to make me insane that I don't understand how these motives are getting changed by going up and down. Like, I want the theory behind it. Is that crazy? Like, I want the
No.
theory behind it, and I'm hoping that
So
I understand
Beth,
that it's programmed, and the way you guys manipulate the harmonics don't matter to the kids as much, but on the back
Yeah.
end, I wish I could know.
When you move the strokes around, the drawn annotations, the intervals are adapted to fit the contour of the line. So the intervals don't necessarily stay the same.
Oh,
And then when you apply the harmony modes, it's doing some other things. And the simplest way I'll put it is that in none, it just kind of takes the shape of the melodic contour in the window and makes it fit the line.
okay. And
then
are you
kind
using
of-
counterpoint rules or something when you
So
automate?
in the general and classical modes, there are some counterpoint rules that come into play. The simplest explanation that I give is generally that the general mode fits notes to a scale, and the classical mode fits things to a key. And you'll see how to change those.
Right, it puts them all in the same
but
key then, if you go to, so
yes,
that they're not like in rando keys.
exactly. So you don't get any kind of chromatic intervals by default. And there are various ways of bringing that back in, and there are ways of changing the key. There are a little bit of like voice leading rules built in, but I usually don't get into that level of description.
Yeah, and I asked earlier in the chat, and maybe this is maybe in 5 years or something, but it would be really cool in my world if we could also compose in different modes besides
Yeah.
the Ionian and the Aeolian.
Yes. So there are, in the old versions, there were actually 5 different harmony modes, and they took those out for simplification. But
Yeah.
the way that we've built this is that we can add on new modes, and then it's a little difficult if you're talking about non-Western, certain kinds of non-Western harmonies that rely on microtonality. That would be more difficult, but we can bring in certainly other modes to that, fourth, pentatonic, those kinds of things as well, very easily. And then, maybe down the line, you can create your own rules and your own sort of harmonization strategy.
That's what's really unique about this Hyperscore, is that there's this harmonic aspect of it that it's really more complex, and it's kind of amazing that there's a way to accessibly look at harmony for kids.
and there is a plan
That's unique.
to advance it for the learner. So, if you're Beth, if you're teaching harmonic stuff in 2nd grade, by the time your 6th graders get to 6th grade, they're going to be doing modes. And that's because you're going to be able to toggle that off and on. So you're going to be able to turn that on for that's what Peter and June and Athena and I were talking about last week. You'll be able to turn things off and on as your kids become more advanced. Now, here's the coolest part of it is that Kim and Lee said, if they're not doing it in a musical way, they don't have to have any of that stuff, and they can turn it, they can toggle it so it's just a major scale. So whatever the students do is going to sound good together. And that's the brilliance of I don't, Peter, do you have some kind of music degree?
No, I don't have any. I've
that
been involved in music my whole life, but I don't
math-based,
have.
though.
Yes, he says things, and I'm like, Peter must have some kind of music background, because he's talking about things, and I'm like, how does he know that? And he's a tech guy, but I think that's cool. He's a great.
Peter is, I will say, he's unique. I mean, he did his PhD in the Opera of the Future group at the MIT Media Lab. So, my husband is a composer, and there are a lot of other graduate students in the program who have a deep music background. So all of that is deeply embedded in the design of Hyperscore. And then Peter's way too modest. I mean, he knows a lot. He knows this stuff.
Well, it's obvious.
And I want you guys to know that Peter did this stuff, and he did it.
It's obvious.
Oh, it's just so cool. All these upgrades are things that he did. Okay, now he's going to blush, so let's go on. Okay, so we're going to give you some time to work and make a harmony. Now we only have about 6 minutes, but that's okay. Whatever you get done in 6 minutes, the bell is going to ring in 6 minutes. And then I'm going to remind you to hit save. We're going to take a break and then come back and you can work again. It's the next day in class. Okay, ready, go.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
How do you make an exact replica of your motive? I feel like when I draw it, I can't draw a straight line exactly, so it kind of alters the pitches.
Okay, so that is something I'm going to teach you when we do form and tone color.
Okay.
And so you would be that student in class that's a more advanced learner. And so I'd be coming over and showing you how to use the copy tool. Peter made an excellent upgrade on the copy tool. You used to have to click on it and then do edit, copy, edit, paste, and then drag it over. Now you can just click on it, and that there's a little white square with an arrow that appears, and it makes the exact same copy. So I'll be teaching you that in the form after we take our break. But go ahead and use it now. If you can figure out how to use it, you'd be the example I'd use in class.
I was able to copy and paste within the melody window.
Yeah. And the harmony window does the same thing too.
Okay, I'll try.
And
Okay.
to draw straight lines, and this is a more difficult on when students are using a touch only interface, but you can hold down the shift key and it'll draw a straight line.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So you don't have this pitch
I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing. Okay, everyone, I want you to, as you are listening to me, I want you to start to finish up that what you're working on directly as I started to talk to you. You will have an opportunity to use this again when you come to class the next time. So what I'd like you to do right now is stop your work and click on the save button. By the way, for all the years I've been using it, they've been saving to their desktop, and we had a special projects folder that I could access, but Peter's solving that problem with the cloud-based saving. But for right now, I'd like everybody to save your piece. It's going to go into the safe number 1 so that you can access it when we get together another time. All right, so everybody, this has been so fun, and June and Peter know that I'm so passionate about this program, but it sounds like we're bringing you into the fold also, and you can go back and tell your friends that weren't able to come today that this is something they're definitely going to want to know. And we are recording, by the way, so that I can share this training with other people who weren't able to come today. But we're going to take a half-hour break, and so Peter's going to have his brunch, and we're going to have our lunch, and get some exercise and move around, and I will see you at 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for everything so far today, and we're hoping to see Elizabeth when we get back. Okay, thank you, everybody. See you at 1.